Service animals. I've been asked so many times to talk about service animals. I don't know why I never have, but I'm doing it now. To be clear, when I say service animals, it's really service dogs. I'll use both terms interchangeably, but yeah, the law, at least in this country, in the United States, refers exclusively to dogs. The Americans with Disabilities Act defines service animals as dogs that are individually trained to work or perform tasks for people with disabilities. Examples of such work or tasks include guiding people who are blind, alerting people who are deaf, pulling a wheelchair, alerting and protecting a person who is having a seizure, reminding a person with mental illness to take prescribed medications, calming a person with PTSD, or performing other duties. Service animals are working animals, not pets. The work or task a dog has been trained to provide must be directly related to the person's disability. Just to be clear, this does not include emotional support animals. They are not considered service animals. The first issue for some vegans is one of consent. Dogs cannot consent to being used in this way, being service animals. They can't consent to becoming your pet either. So if having a service animal isn't vegan for consent reasons, then having one for companionship isn't either. Some vegans take issue with using animals, forcing them to do this work, guiding the blind, pulling wheelchairs, etc. This type of argument would apply to pets as well. We use them for companionship. So again, if service animals aren't vegan, neither are pets. I don't find either of these arguments convincing, at least for dogs. Dogs have been bred essentially to like us. Assuming they're well cared for, dogs gain a lot from being in our company. Just on a basic level, they are protected from the elements, they're fed regularly. There's a reason dogs will travel hundreds of miles to find their person. Sounds like consent to me. And even when it comes to working, it's clear that generally dogs enjoy working. They enjoy helping people. Again, assuming they are well cared for and not overworked. Use is only a problem when it becomes exploitation, when it's one-sided. I don't see how a relationship like this is one-sided. Again, for dogs, while keeping cats indoors is the best thing to do for numerous reasons, it's not clear if this arrangement is really best for the cat. Many seem genuinely unhappy to be kept in essentially a large box, and there's no question that the standard care for hamsters, gerbils, birds is entirely inadequate. These animals suffer greatly. But going by the vegan society definition, the one I prefer, it's clear to me that having a service animal, or a pet for that matter, is not inherently unvegan. You can use an animal for companionship or even work without exploiting them or being cruel to them. One big problem that separates service animals from pets is breeding. While it's very easy to adopt a pet from a shelter, the same can't be said for service animals. Again, these are working animals. They need to be trained, and while the ADA does not specify certain breeds, the people who do train these dogs often select for certain breeds. Labrador retrievers, golden retrievers, and German shepherds seem to be the most common. So someone buying a service dog from an accredited organization is very likely getting a dog that was bred for that purpose. But again, no specific breed is required, just specific traits. So if you have a dog who's like skittish around strangers, probably not going to make for a good guide dog. This super cool organization actually trains rescue dogs. At Medical Mutts, we use the same selection criteria for our dogs as do organizations with a breeding program. We look for dogs with the right temperament, the right age, the right physical traits, and the right health. We do not take in project dogs. The dogs that we take into our program come in with all the right qualities to be a service dog. Only a small fraction qualify. And the ones who don't qualify are put up for adoption to the public. So clearly it is possible to get a rescued service dog, and since the ADA does not require professional training of the dog, you could actually train a rescue dog yourself. Saves a lot of money. It's not cheap, these dogs, but obviously requires a lot more work on your part. Most people are going to turn to facilities that train these dogs, and again, these facilities typically do not rescue dogs. As you've probably noticed, there aren't a lot of rules pertaining to the service dogs themselves. They don't have to be a particular breed or size. They don't have to go through any particular training. They don't even have to be certified or wear any sort of ID or vest denoting them as a service dog. While this is great in some ways, again, breeding dogs is not required. That's great. it's not so great in others, namely animal welfare. There are no special rules for how these dogs are trained. Facilities are not instructed to make sure the dogs aren't overworked, to use only positive reinforcement. Considering the importance of service animals to people with disabilities, it should follow that there would be considerable body of research on their welfare on the job. Strangely, this does not seem to be the case. A 2018 review found only a handful of peer-reviewed studies and one book chapter looking at the topic. It seems especially counterintuitive considering just how much research exists on the welfare of companion animals more broadly. But as the review bluntly notes, assistance dogs are not pets. I think many people with service dogs would disagree with that. They do view them as pets, which is very likely a good thing, right? You're probably a lot less likely to overwork your dog if your dog is part of the family rather than just a tool. But that, of course, says nothing about the organization's training and selling these dogs. There are voluntary accrediting organizations like Assistance Dogs International. While their requirements for accreditation are fairly minimal, they do take into account animal welfare. Trainers utilize humane training methods that are evidence-based and follow the least intrusive, minimally aversive principle to teach reliable behaviors on cue. Accreditation also includes a several-day on-site survey of the facility, and facilities need to be re-accredited every 5 years. I take various medications, the majority of which probably contain lactose, and there's nothing I can do about it. I take these medications to keep my periods manageable, to keep my mood manageable. I'm still vegan. I still consider myself vegan because as far as is possible and practicable. I view service animals the exact same way. If you need a service dog to function, even if that dog comes from a breeder, that is no different from my medication. You're still vegan. And again, there are ways to avoid breeding, training your dog yourself, more work, but a lot less expensive. Facilities that rescue themselves and train the dogs themselves, unfortunately, are pretty hard to come by. I only found 2 in addition to medical mutts. Point is, definitely don't feel bad if you have to go the traditional route. And if you do go the traditional route, it's probably safer to go with an accredited organization versus an unaccredited one. Other ways to minimize impact are the same ones I would say for someone just getting a dog just to have a dog, just for companionship. Smaller dogs, if you can, they're going to use less resources, need less food, obviously, and as little meat as you can. There are some vegan dog food brands out there if you're not comfortable with that. There are vegetarian ones. If you're still not comfortable with that, going completely vegetarian, you could alternate with a meat-based food. And I know it feels better to get the premium brands, but from an impact standpoint, it's really better to get the cheaper ones since they tend to use animal byproducts. And finally, offsetting. You can offset some of the harm from having a pet or a service dog by donating to an effective animal charity. Good Food Institute and Faunalytics are 2 of my favorites. And that is it. Thank you for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm sorry it took me so long to do this. It's a lot harder for me to just start notes on a topic. It's a lot easier to respond to something, right? So if someone had made a video talking about service animals, that would have been easy. But just starting and outlining and everything, sometimes my brain just won't start up. Anyway, thank you again. Subscribe, like the video, turn on your notifications. Thank you so much to my patrons at patreon.com/unnaturalvegan. I do post 2 exclusive videos there a month for $5 plus patrons. I just posted my controversial one for August, and I have some merch, and I have an Amazon store page, and that's it for me. Thanks, guys. New video soon. We watched the Dungeons and Dragons movie, the new one with Chris Pine's Detective Pikachu guy, Michelle Rodriguez. It's actually really cute. Too long. It could have been shorter. Over 2 hours long. Really cute. I laughed several times. I really liked the ending too. I thought it was going to be like a you can't play God type of thing. You can't bring people back. But no, it was very cute.